Hello, welcome to this week's Wild Spirits News. I'm Sibylla and today I'll tell you when not to use positive thinking. You may think, what? Aren't I the one who usually says that a focus on the positive makes for a happier and more productive life? Yes, I have indeed said that, and I'm still saying this, I stand by it. And later on in this video, I'm going to give you a couple of ways to achieve this. However, I want to focus on, and this is why it's in the title, this very important point that we need to fight the mistaken belief that being positive or having a focus on the positive means to relentlessly be positive all the time. Because not only is it impossible to be positive all the time, not the biggest self-help guru is positive all the time, I can guarantee you that. It's not only is it not possible, it's also not healthy or conducive to your happiness or your success. So your mission today is to learn where to not be positive and how to develop the positive focus where it does make sense. Your task number one is to learn when not to use positive thinking, and I'll give you two significant examples, two areas, two situations in life where positive thinking is not the appropriate reaction, at least not at first. The first is I call it calamities. Now anything major happens, like this example, somebody dies who's close to you, or an earthquake destroys your home, or something, there's war where you live and you have to flee the country, stuff like that. I mean, really life-changing things. You can't just say, oh yeah, no, well, that's great. I can marry someone else if my husband just died. No, I mean, you need to feel your emotions. It is extremely psychologically damaging to try and gloss over things. And this is also a reaction, especially if it's something very traumatic that has happened. One natural reaction is to just try and never mention it again, to just brush it under the carpet and just not even think of it. And that is not what leads to healing. And if you then on top of that try to even be positive and keep smiling, for the sake of all that's cute and fluffy, don't employ the keep smiling approach in this respect. You have to allow all your feelings, all of them. You have to live through them and you have to feel them all. It's very important, and if necessary, get help. The second area is called mental health, and that's also a very broad area, but there are instances where positivity just doesn't get you anywhere. You can't smile through, you can't positive think your way through out of a depression, because depression is more than just a bad mood. Positive thinking can help you in the healing process as a supportive mechanism on top of therapy and all sorts of things that you can do. And for example, if it's older trauma that keeps you that causes you problems, positive thinking won't get you anywhere. You have to address it, you have to heal it, and again, get help where you need to, and don't think you can just think pink your way out of something that is an actual affliction. Task number two is called develop a positive attitude. The realm for positive thinking, the place that it has and where it does have a place and makes a lot of sense, is in your everyday life and in everyday challenges, even those that seem overwhelming, like a divorce or a loss of a job or something. So anything that isn't life-threatening calamity, positive thinking can actually help you a lot. Doesn't mean you shouldn't feel your feelings. You should still feel your feelings, all of them, even the so-called negative ones. That's nothing to do with a positive focus. You work through feelings, and then if you have a positive attitude, you will then arrive at a place where you once again start looking at the bright side. So it's the everyday challenges in the everyday life where a positive attitude actually makes a huge difference, and it makes you happier and more successful. And by the way, this is not something that you're born with. It takes some time to develop, but everyone can develop it. Some people are naturally more positive, but if you're not, that doesn't mean you can't develop a positive attitude. It's absolutely possible to learn this and to develop it. It just takes a bit of time. Here are three things you can do to get you started. The first, gratitude. I've mentioned it before, and you will see it everywhere because it's just such a powerful tool. Whatever you do, whether you write down three things that you're grateful for every day, or if you just think of 3 things or 5 things or whatever, for something that you're grateful for in your life before you go to sleep in the evening or after you wake up in the morning. Whatever you do, the important bit is that you actually feel and experience the gratitude. You don't just write something down mechanically. You actually experience the feeling of gratitude. This gets easier as you make it a habit. Do this over the long run and see what happens. Step number 2 is called Mind the Gap. This is about the famous gap between something that happens and your reaction to it. I don't actually know who coined it. I learned it from Bob Proctor, who I think learned it from Earl Nightingale, but I'm fairly certain I've seen it somewhere in Stephen Covey's writings, and Jim Rohn talked about it at least once when I heard him. It is fairly universal. I'm sure somebody invented it. I can't think of who it was. This is about, we are not robots. If something happens to us, we don't need to have a knee-jerk reaction, a reflex. We can react, and we can choose this reaction. If something happens, something that we deem as negative or threatening, the first impulse might be to lash out or to cry and to think that the world is ending. And you can train yourself to actually take a step back and take a deep breath, and before you react, consciously choose your reaction. Because on your reaction, the reaction is what determines the outcome much more than what actually happened. What happened you can't influence, your reaction you can influence, and that makes all the difference. That is what people say when they say you create your own reality. It's by choosing your reaction. Again, this is something that needs to be trained, and you will, at the beginning, after years and years of trying this, I still fall into the trap of just reacting and later thinking, yeah, I should have just waited for a moment before I reacted to this. This is not something you get perfect in, but you can definitely get better. And the third step is called the big picture. If something happens, especially something that seems threatening, like a job loss or something, or somebody leaves you, so your partner or whatever, it might be tempting to think it's the end of the world at first. Again, feel your authentic emotions. That is totally fine. But don't think it is the end of the world. Again, take a step back and then think in the long term. What will this mean a year from now? What will this mean 5 years from now? How do you look back on similar situations that might have happened in your life in the past? Are you still seeing them as a calamity, or are you maybe saying, that was the best thing that could have happened to me because that led to X, Y, and Z? And this can give you a bit of distance and a bit of detachment, a bit of perspective, and that makes it a lot easier to deal with it, and it makes it easier to deal with the emotions that come up. And obviously it's a lot faster than to get back to a positive, look for the opportunity, look for the gift and the calamity and all these things kind of attitude. Task number 3 is, as usual, let me know. Hit the reply button on the email that you got the link to the video with, and tell me what your main takeaway from this video is. Which of the steps, of the 3 steps that I called out, are you going to employ to develop a positive attitude? Let me know. I'll write back, I promise. And if you didn't get the link to the video in an email, that means you're not part of the Wild Spirits community yet, and you should join us. Go to wildspiritscoaching.com and fill in the little form there. You can also do the free life audit on that page. If you fill in the form at the end of the life audit, that'll also subscribe you to the Wild Spirits newsletter, which is 1 email per week, so 100% spam free. You'll get lots of extra information, extra articles, recommendations of books and other resources, and sometimes you get exclusive offers that are only for my subscribers that nobody else ever gets to see. So go to wildspiritscoaching.com and sign up. You can also Google Wild Spirits Coaching. That'll get you to my website as well. Thank you for watching.